At 65, something shifted in me. Not suddenly, but slowly, quietly over time. I started to feel less drawn to the buzz of gatherings, the noise of casual conversations, the pressure to be constantly available. I used to think being surrounded by people was the goal. Family get-togethers, parties, being liked, being seen. But now I find peace in distance. Not because I don't care anymore, but because I care differently. My energy is sacred, and I finally realized I don't need to spread it thin to feel worthy. There's power in solitude, in choosing stillness over noise, in saying no without guilt. And trust me, that clarity didn't come easy. It came from years of giving, bending, accommodating. Now I live on my own terms, and for the first time, it feels like I'm truly living. You see, in my younger days, I chased connection like it was a finish line. I thought being included meant I was valued. I believed I had to attend every birthday party, every dinner, every phone call, or else I'd be forgotten. But that mindset wore me down. Somewhere along the way, I mistook availability for love and self-sacrifice for loyalty. I was constantly trying to be everything for everyone, smiling when I was tired, helping when I needed help myself. I don't regret the love I gave, but I do regret not saving some of it for me. So now I've drawn boundaries, not out of bitterness, but out of growth. Avoiding people doesn't mean I'm cold or unkind. It means I've learned that not all connections are healthy. Some relationships are built on expectations, not love. Some friends only call when they need something. Some family members don't bring joy, only judgment. And I've chosen to step back, not because I hate them, but because I love myself more. At 65, I'm no longer willing to shrink myself for the comfort of others. I've learned that discomfort is a signal, not a flaw, and peace is the reward for listening. There's a myth that as we get older, our world should expand, that we should cling to every relationship we have, just to avoid loneliness. But what if that's not true? What if growth means pruning? What if joy comes from depth, not breadth? I've let go of dozens of people over the years, not with anger, but with grace. I thank them for the role they played, the lessons they taught, but I don't chase anyone anymore. If someone wants to be in my life, they'll show up. And if they don't, I'm still whole. My peace doesn't depend on their presence. Now let's be clear, I'm not isolated. I still have conversations, I still laugh with friends, I still show up for the people who matter. But the difference now is this: I no longer feel obligated. Every interaction is a choice, not a chore. And that shift changed everything. I spend more time reading, gardening, walking, reflecting. I wake up with less anxiety. I end the day with more calm. There's no more pretending, no more performing. Just me, as I am. And honestly, it's the most free I've ever felt. There were moments I doubted this change. Times when I wondered, am I just bitter? But the truth is, bitterness comes from holding on. I've let go. And in that letting go, I've found healing. I don't avoid people out of resentment. I avoid people because I finally understand that not every voice deserves a seat at my table. And not every story deserves to take up space in my head. Some things are better loved from afar, and some chapters are better left closed. It's easy to assume that avoiding people equals loneliness. But let me tell you something. Loneliness doesn't come from being alone. It comes from being misunderstood, from being surrounded by people who don't see you, don't hear you, don't value you. I'd rather sit alone in silence than sit in a crowd and feel invisible. And I think many of you understand exactly what I mean. This stage of life demands honesty with others, but especially with ourselves. What do we want? Who do we want around? What kind of energy do we allow near us? We're not here to please everyone. We're here to live fully, authentically. And that means making tough choices, saying no when it's easier to say yes, walking away when it's more convenient to stay. Not because we're unkind, but because we finally learned that kindness to ourselves is just as important, maybe even more. And let me say this, if you're 60, 65, 70, and you're starting to feel the same way, you're not broken. You're not antisocial. You're just waking up. You're learning the difference between connection and obligation. You're realizing that your time is precious and your energy isn't limitless. You've earned the right to be selective. You've earned the peace that comes from saying, not today, and meaning it. This new version of me doesn't need to be in every group photo. I don't need to be invited everywhere. I don't need to answer every call. I don't feel guilty for choosing rest over drama, calm over chaos. I don't apologize for putting myself first, because for decades I didn't. And I paid the price in stress, in sadness, in fatigue. Not anymore. Now I look around and see life more clearly. I see which relationships truly matter. I see how much of my past was spent chasing things that don't even matter anymore. Titles, appearances, approval. None of that feeds my soul now. What feeds me is peace, laughter, presence. Real moments with real people, or even just with myself. I've stopped chasing and started being. Because in this stillness, I've discovered something powerful. That I don't need a crowd to feel complete. I don't need noise to feel alive. I don't need to be seen to feel worthy. I just need to be honest about what fills me up and what drains me. And once you learn that, once you feel that deep sense of self-trust, avoiding people doesn't feel sad. It feels like freedom. There's something beautiful that happens when you stop needing external validation. You begin to see your own value more clearly. At this age, I've realized I don't need anyone to clap for me. I don't need permission to rest, to grow, or to heal. My worth isn't determined by who texts me, who checks in, or who likes my posts. It's measured in how I feel when I wake up. Peaceful, grounded, unbothered. And to get here, I had to let go of a lot. Of people, habits, expectations. Some left quietly. Others had to be shown the door. But each time I became lighter. You might wonder, doesn't it feel lonely? Sometimes yes, but it's a different kind of loneliness. It's not empty, it's clean. It's not the kind that aches, it's the kind that heals. I've learned to enjoy my own company. I talk to myself, laugh at my own thoughts, spend hours doing what I love. I've stopped relying on other people to entertain me or make me feel important, because at the end of the day, I'm the one who has to live with me. And that relationship, it's the most important one of all. I used to confuse busyness with meaning. I filled my schedule so I wouldn't have to face the quiet. But now I protect my quiet like it's gold. I say no without explaining myself. I cancel plans if my body tells me it needs rest. I walk away from conversations that drain me, because I finally realize that it's not rude to protect your peace. It's wise. And the older I get, the more sacred that peace becomes. Avoiding people isn't about hate. It's about healing. It's not rejection, it's redirection. I'm redirecting my time, my love, and my presence toward people and places that feel right, toward moments that matter, conversations that feed my soul, connections that don't demand performance. If a relationship only survives when I'm giving more than I'm receiving, it's not a relationship. It's a transaction, and I'm done with those. It took me decades to admit this. Not everyone deserves access to me. Some people only want you when you're useful, when you say yes, when you make them feel better. But the moment you need something or draw a line, they disappear. That kind of one-sided dynamic, that's not love. That's convenience. And I'm no longer interested in being someone's convenience. You see, when you reach this stage in life, your perspective shifts. The things that used to matter, status, popularity, being included, they fall away. And what's left is the truth. And the truth is, I'm happiest when I'm being real. I'm happiest when I'm surrounded by people who accept me as I am, not for what I can do for them. I'm happiest when my time is spent in alignment with my values, not out of obligation or guilt. That's why I avoid people now, because too many times I let the wrong people stay too long. I ignored red flags. I made excuses. I stayed in places where I didn't feel seen, and all that did was drain me. But now I flipped the script. I no longer chase, I attract. And if someone doesn't align with my peace, my purpose, or my joy, they simply don't get a seat at my table. No drama, no big announcement, just distance. And trust me, it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. Here's the truth no one tells you. Peace is addictive. Once you feel it, truly feel it, you'll do anything to protect it. You'll walk away from chaos, from gossip, from passive-aggressive comments. You'll delete numbers, unfollow pages, cancel invites, and you won't feel bad about it. Because your sanity, your joy, your clarity, That's worth more than any social event or superficial friendship. People might call you selfish. Let them. People might say you've changed. You have. And that's the point. Growth is uncomfortable for those who stay the same. But don't shrink to make others comfortable. Don't dim your light just to be accepted. If they don't support your growth, they're not your people. And that's okay. Not everyone is meant to go with you into this next chapter. I've learned to trust the quiet, to honor my gut. If something feels off, I don't ignore it anymore. If a conversation leaves me feeling heavy, I don't return to it. If someone makes me question my worth, I walk away. Life is too short to spend explaining your boundaries to people committed to crossing them. I don't argue anymore. I don't prove my point. I just move differently. Because at 65, I finally see the value of my peace. I've worked too hard, lived too long, and sacrificed too much to waste time on people who don't see me. I used to believe I had to fix everything, every misunderstanding, every broken relationship. But now, I believe in letting things be. If it's meant for me, it'll flow effortlessly. If it's not, I release it with love. And you know what's amazing? When you start living this way, everything changes. Your sleep improves, your mind clears, you smile more. You begin to attract people who are on the same wavelength, people who don't need to be impressed, people who are emotionally mature, who value your presence, not your performance. And those connections, they're rare, but they're real, and they're worth the wait. So if you're at this point in your life where you feel the urge to step back, to unplug, to reevaluate, don't fight it. That's your intuition guiding you. That's your soul asking for space. Give it what it needs. Say no without guilt. Set boundaries without apology. Create distance without explanation. You owe no one an explanation for protecting your peace. And if someone truly values you, they'll respect your space. They'll meet you where you are, not demand you return to who you used to be. Because you're not that person anymore. You've evolved, you've grown, and this new version of you deserves to be honored, protected, and surrounded by love. Not pressure, not drama, not noise. I used to think I had to explain myself, that every decision needed justification, every no needed a reason, every boundary had to be defended. But now I understand, silence is powerful. Distance is a statement. You don't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to argue to be understood. Sometimes the most mature response is simply not engaging, not showing up where your soul doesn't feel safe. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. There's freedom in not responding. Freedom in letting people think what they want. Freedom in no longer needing to fix other people's perceptions of you. People will create their own stories whether you speak or not. So now I choose peace over proving my point. I choose solitude over superficial connection. I choose depth, presence, truth. Not everyone will like that, but the right ones will. The right ones always do. You see, avoiding people isn't about bitterness. It's about balance. It's not shutting the world out. It's inviting the right energy in. When I was younger, I used to let everyone in the door. I didn't have a filter. I thought kindness meant always being available, always listening, always giving. But now I've learned that kindness without boundaries is self-destruction. That being available to everyone often leaves you empty for yourself. So I've become selective. I listen closely to how I feel after talking to someone. Do I feel uplifted or drained? Do I feel seen or ignored? That tells me everything. Energy doesn't lie. If your body tenses up around someone, pay attention. If your spirit feels restless, that's your sign. Trust it. Because life has taught me that vibes never lie. Words can deceive, smiles can fake, but energy always tells the truth. And let me tell you, peace is not passive. It takes work. It takes courage to walk away from chaos, to unlearn people-pleasing, to stop showing up just because it's expected. It takes strength to say, this doesn't feel right, and then leave. But once you do, once you taste that calm, that clarity, you'll never go back. You'll protect it with everything you've got. I used to think being alone was sad, that it meant something was wrong with me. But now I see solitude as sacred. It's where I reconnect with myself. It's where I hear my own voice, feel my own feelings, remember who I am without all the noise. In solitude, I heal. I reflect. I rest. And I no longer see it as isolation. I see it as restoration. There's a big difference. And you know what else? The world won't fall apart if you take a break. If you stop texting first, if you don't show up to every gathering, if you mute that group chat, if you let that call go to voicemail, you don't owe everyone access to your time, your energy, your heart. Your resources are precious. Treat them that way. People often ask, "Oh, but what if they think you're being rude?" Let them. People who benefit from your lack of boundaries will always see your boundaries as a problem. That doesn't mean you're wrong. That means you're growing. And growth often offends those who refuse to grow with you. You can't water everyone else's garden while yours dries out. You matter too. And if someone gets offended because you took time for yourself, that's not love. Love understands space. Love respects silence. Love doesn't guilt trip you for protecting your peace. True friends don't need 24/7 access to your life to feel connected. They respect your rhythms. They check in, but they don't chase. They support, but they don't smother. They know when to show up and when to let you be. And those are the people worth keeping. The rest, let them go. Let go of the need to explain, the need to be understood by everyone, the need to make everyone happy. That's a trap. The minute you start living for others, you start dying to yourself. I've done that. I've tried to be what everyone needed. Strong, nice, patient, available. And in the process, I lost myself. But not anymore. Now I reclaim my time. I reclaim my peace. I reclaim my energy. I rest when I need to. I disconnect when I must. I no longer let guilt lead me. I let peace guide me. And if something disrupts that peace, even if it comes disguised as family or tradition or just being polite, I walk away. Not in anger, not in spite, but in love for myself. You have to love yourself enough to disappoint others. That's hard, especially if you've spent your whole life trying to be everything for everyone. But at some point, you have to choose you. Your body will thank you. Your mind will thank you. Your future self will thank you. Because burnout is not a badge of honor. Constant availability is not a virtue. And saying yes all the time isn't kindness. It's neglect. Self-neglect. So now I pause before responding. I check in with myself before committing. I ask, is this aligned with the life I want? Does this feel good in my body? Does this support my peace? And if the answer is no, then my answer is no. No guilt, no apology, just clarity. It's not that I hate people. I love people. I just love myself more. And that's not selfish. That's survival. That's self-respect. That's what 65 has taught me. To stop chasing, to start choosing, to stop explaining, to start honoring, and to stop showing up where I'm not valued and start thriving where I am. The truth is, I didn't arrive at this place overnight. It took years, decades really, of pouring myself into others before I finally realized how empty I felt. I had become so good at making sure everyone else was okay that I forgot to ask myself if I was. I was exhausted, emotionally stretched thin, always saying yes when my heart screamed no. And yet I kept showing up, smiling, serving, giving, until I couldn't anymore. That's when I hit a turning point, a quiet one, not dramatic or loud, just a stillness that came over me one day and said, enough. I didn't have a breakdown. I didn't shout or cry or make some big announcement. I just stopped. I stopped chasing. I stopped explaining. I stopped stretching myself for people who wouldn't lift a finger for me. And in that moment, I felt peace like I hadn't felt in years. You don't have to make a scene to change your life. You just have to make a choice. One quiet, powerful choice to put yourself first. And when I did that, when I really embraced it, my entire world shifted. The noise faded, the pressure lifted, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe. I started noticing things I'd been too busy to see. How the sunlight looked different in the mornings. How my coffee tasted better when I wasn't rushing. How music felt more alive when I listened alone. I started hearing my own thoughts, my own needs, my own dreams again. And I realized how much of myself I had abandoned in the name of being nice, helpful, or reliable. So yes, I avoid people now, but only the ones who don't value me. Only the ones who take more than they give. Only the ones who talk but don't listen, who expect but never offer, who drain but never replenish. I avoid people who make me question my worth, who twist kindness into obligation, who see boundaries as rejection. I avoid drama, guilt, manipulation, and in their place I welcome stillness, self-trust, and genuine connection. Because not everyone is meant to walk with you through every chapter. Some people were only ever meant to be a page, and that's okay. Releasing them isn't cruel, it's compassionate. It allows both of you to grow in the directions you are meant to. Growth requires space, healing requires silence, and sometimes the only way to find yourself is to walk away from who you were when you were trying to please everyone. Now, I spend my days doing things that fill me up. I read, I sit in the garden, I go for long walks without my phone. I have conversations that are slow and deep, not rushed or surface level. I laugh more. I sleep better. I don't worry so much about being liked. I worry about being real. And I've found that the more I lean into authenticity, the more peace I find. It's not always easy. There are moments I miss the noise, the distraction, the comfort of old routines. But when that happens, I remind myself why I chose this path. I remember the weight I used to carry, the constant pressure to perform, the subtle ache of being unseen. And then I breathe, and I sit in the quiet, and I remember, this is better. This is freedom. At 65, I finally feel like I've come home to myself. I don't feel the need to impress anymore. I don't measure my value by how many people call me or how busy my schedule looks. I measure it by how I feel when I wake up in the morning, by the peace I carry through the day, by the gratitude I feel when I look around and see how far I've come. This stage of life isn't about accumulation, it's about alignment. It's not about having more, doing more, being more. It's about feeling whole, content, present. It's about releasing the weight of expectations and embracing the beauty of simplicity. It's about knowing who you are and letting that be enough. No need to perform, no need to compete, just being. So if you're watching this and you feel like you're withdrawing a bit, like you don't have the energy for certain people or places anymore, I want you to know you're not broken. You're evolving. You're allowed to grow out of what once fit. You're allowed to change your mind, change your habits, change your boundaries. That's not selfish. That's self-honoring. There's no shame in wanting a quieter life, a life with fewer obligations, fewer explanations, fewer expectations, a life where you don't have to constantly perform or please, a life where you can simply exist and be accepted exactly as you are. That's not laziness, it's clarity. It's knowing your worth and refusing to settle for less. I avoid people now, not because I hate people, but because I finally love myself enough to choose peace. I protect my space like it's sacred. I treat my energy like currency. I show up fully, but only where I feel safe, seen, and respected. And I give myself permission to walk away from anything less. That's not bitterness, that's growth, that's maturity, that's 65. So if you found yourself in a similar place, craving quiet, cutting ties, choosing solitude, I want you to hear this. You are not alone. This is what healing looks like. This is what self-respect sounds like. And this right here is what peace feels like. We've earned this. Every line on our face, every scar on our heart, it all led here. To freedom, to clarity, to a life that finally feels like ours. So no, I don't go to every event. I don't answer every call. I don't chase people anymore. I sit, I listen to myself. I water my own garden. I live in alignment with what matters most. And if that means avoiding people who don't match my peace, then so be it. Because at 65, I don't need noise. I need meaning. I don't need attention. I need authenticity. I don't need a crowd. I just need peace. And that is exactly what I found. If this message spoke to your heart, if you saw a part of your own journey in mine, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button so I know you're out there. Subscribe if you're craving more conversations that truly matter. And if you're walking this path of quiet strength, share this with someone who needs a reminder. It's okay to choose peace. Drop a comment below and tell me how your life has changed after 60 or 65. I read every word. You're not alone in this. We're building a community here, not of noise, but of real connection. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.